All right, so when was your first showing? And if you don't remember exactly when, just kind of the experience of it and when you first did it.
Yeah, I didn't really have. I mean, I really first started showing, I guess, when I was back in art school. After I got my first degree, and then I started going back to school. I had student art shows, and I guess the first really big show I had was my MFA show, which was back in Illinois, and filled this whole huge room with these big paintings, and yeah, it was quite. I mean, it was quite a feeling. It's like to be able to do that, to fill a whole huge room. It was big. It was a big gallery, yeah, and to fill that and realize that I had enough to do that, and you get a good response from it as well. So.
Which leads us right into the next question, actually, in a good way too. How have most people viewed and interpreted your work?
I get it. Yeah, I get it. I usually do get a good response to it. People seem to like it. Not all people. Some people just blow it off. They're looking for something else. But I do get a good, response to it. And I seem to get a good response from younger. I've always gotten a good response from kids younger than myself. Let's say that always responded to it well. I don't know why, but.
What do they say to you when they see your stuff? What is like their impression of it when they come up to you and say, "Stacy, I saw this picture and ... What do you get a lot of? What kind
First of all, they'll look at it and they'll ask. They want to ask a lot of questions like, how did you do? What's the process? They want to kind of know: is that a painting? Is that a photo? What is that? And I get that, and which is why I like blurring that boundary a little, quite a bit too, because I don't think of myself as a photographer in any way. I think of myself as messing up photos, kind of, and making them more painterly, I guess, or whatever.
What decided with the show that you have coming up with 100 paintings? What made you decide to do that?
Yeah, for this show, I had decided to do 100 paintings, and I'd had this going around in my brain for a little while. I wanted to do something substantial, yet I don't want to do huge paintings, and I also wanted to make something like small and affordable that people could actually maybe buy. And so one day I just decided I'm going to do this, and so we set a date, and I put it on Facebook, so then I'm like obligated, right, to get it done, And the other thing I like about 100, it's 100 pieces, $100 a piece. So I think that makes it affordable. People can buy multiple ones, and that's what I like to do here in my studio. I'll like put them together in different groups. It's like almost like toys. You can play with them, create your own narrative with them. You can do fun things like that with them. So put them in different, matrices, 3x3s or whatever. So.
Which I think you're crazy. That's a lot of work. That's a massive undertaking, and really, it's to me, it's. Did you wake up one day with the idea, or did you?
I think I actually I'd heard somebody else had done it a long time ago, and that thought was always in my head, about, wow, you should do something like that. And eventually say, well, quit thinking about it, just do it. You can do it. And the other reason I want to do it too, I felt like I've been doing this. I had kind of felt like I was getting stuck in what I'm doing. I thought if I do 100 of these, it's going to change at some point. And I'm all about that. Once you feel like really comfortable with what you're doing, I think that's a good sign that it's probably time to change it a little bit. So.
Did you find it hard coming up with inspiration to do that many in such a short period of time?
Not as much as I thought. I mean, once I started going, and it also allowed me to do there are some multiple things, but of course then they're all different at the same time. But as I'm doing it now, I'm finding I'm doing more of my own photography now. Or my own snapshots, let's call them snapshots.
So what other shows of this nature you think you would like to take on in the future? Once you move past the 100 paintings show, is there other things that you've had cooking in your head that you thought maybe it would be cool to do this type of show, or anything more down the same vein?
Yeah, well, I mean, 200, 500. I mean, you could, hard to stop, but I have thought about doing some like larger grids, very large. I could do like 100 paintings, but they would be that 8x10 size, but maybe small pieces of the same. They would all fit together in one piece, like on a big, huge wall. It's kind of going through my head right now as a possible,
That's very cool. Have you thought about doing any shows with other mediums, or painting on other objects other than what you're doing right now? I mean,
I haven't never done that. I used to like find thrift store things, lamps and different things, and I would cover them with wrapping paper and different. And I always liked that a lot. And I've done some work, like small, like did like a toy airplane that I covered with some of my own images, very small images, and I thought about doing something like that, something more conceptual, more sculptural, I guess. Yeah.
So with that being said, how do you see your artwork evolving from where it is right now?
I just see it evolving. I don't know exactly where it'll go. I just know I've been doing it for so long that it does evolve, and that it will keep going. It gives you confidence too when you said I can do 100 paintings and everyone thinks they're skeptical, and then you do it. That gives you, wow, well, I could do that, then I can do this other thing I've been thinking of that. I said, wow, yeah, I'm going to do that, but you can. Yeah.
So what message, if any, or feelings do you want to evoke in your artwork? What do you want people to feel, or what do you want people to see or think? See, that's the trick. It's like I don't try to make people feel a certain way or think a certain way, but if I relate to it, I think that they're going to feel that something's in there, and that they will relate to that. And so a lot of my work, it's obviously a lot of it's vintage, kind of older photographs, which I think go back to, everybody has this love of their past, of their childhood, yet, you're not a child anymore, and you're seeing it now through, more open eyes. And so I think there's a lot of that in there that people can relate to. Everybody kind of relates to that. So I'm kind of I like that idea of having multiple things going on in one painting. Yeah. And so what advice do you have for other artists that may be starting out? I would just advise them to, paint. Get out and do it, That's the hardest thing, is because it does take, you have to have, if you want to get a name and you want to get in shows. I've been in a lot of shows because I had stuff ready. So like this show right now that I have a Blackbird in the show I had before that at Farina, I had a body of work, and they ask you and you say, yeah, I can hang it up today, And like I said, the more you work, the more you feel comfortable with it, the more you're going to get out there, and you're going to want to show it. You're going to get connected at the same time. You're going to be talking to people, and that's how you're going to get, started. Yeah. So that's all the questions I have. So is there anything that you would like to say about what you do? And I find it very fascinating. I always have. I've loved your work since the first time I've seen it. But to me, it's so, there's so much to it that, and you're so humble that I think you're selling yourself a little short. Yeah, I've been accused of that. Right? I've been accused of that. Yeah, I can see that, and your work's beautiful. But is there anything that you would like to say about what you do and how you do it, or? No, I just feel grateful that I've been able to do it. That I've had, this space here to be able to do it. That I've done it long enough, and I've have enough people, such as yourself, like what you've just said. A lot of people have told me that, and so that's important to have a support group around you to encourage you to, because a lot of people will, I've had other people say, oh, you glue stuff to boards, and that's not
that's not art, that's not painting, but I have enough people that say no, it is, to encourage you to do that. And so I feel fortunate to do that. And I don't know where I was going with that, but
That's fine. And just
you know,
some
it's
reflections on your
kind
thoughts
of
on it, because it's again, I think that your paintings speak louder than you ever have about it, and that's a testament to the kind of person you are, which is, I think, I admire. But you know,
yeah, I've always had that kind of feeling about explaining your work. Like, I don't even really know totally what it's about. I can't. You know, and the artist can't follow the painting around and explain what it's about, you know. So again, hopefully if there's something in there that people are going to feel it and they're going to get something out of it, they're going to relate to something in there. And I've had a lot of people that have, and so I feel like I have been successful at that, you know,
and
at creating
one
that.
question that I don't have on here that I'd like to ask you is, have you ever have been surprised or offended by somebody's interpretation of what you've done?
Oh yeah, that's always a surprise. Like, I had my, I referred to my MFA show, and I had all these big paintings. And so friends from work would come and their spouses would come, and I remember one guy went around and said, well, I figured out every single one of these except for this one painting. What's that one about? And I don't know whether to be offended by that or what, you know, like they're not puzzles to be figured out, but he was, he got engaged by it, you know, so. And then, like I said, other people they make comments like that. Well, you just use these photos or you just use these splashes and drips. I mean, and that goes back to people telling Jackson Pollock they're just splashes and drips. Well, until they try to do it, you know? So, you know, I encourage any kind of reaction, I guess. Even if people love it, or if sometimes people will get angry at, you know, certain images. And there was something in there that spoke to them too, that they were passionate enough to voice their opinion about it, you know. So I think that's all good, you know.
Cool. Well, thank you, sir.
All right.